This is Philip Shaw from Dresden, Ontario, here for another edition of East West with my friend Dr. Enamal Haq in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And it's been quite a few weeks since we've chatted with you last when we were chatting about the effects of the war in Iran and the Straits of Hormuz. A lot of things have been happening since then. And still at this hour, and about April 19th, we still really don't know what's happening. Sometimes truth is the first casualty of war, and the Americans are saying one thing, and the Iranians are saying other, and apparently there's peace talks scheduled. Who knows how it ends up? We mused about that the last time we got together, but I thought that this week this episode we talk about the effects what's going on with regard to the war in Iran, and specifically what we're seeing is higher energy costs for the world. Now, I guess you could make an argument that higher energy costs means one thing in a place like Canada that exports oil, and the United States that does the same thing, and it's another thing in places like South Asia, like Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, where they rely a lot more on oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz. In Canada, for example, like for instance, I talk about agricultural policy around the world in the genre that I'm in. We're looking at increases in fertilizer and fuel costs for the agricultural economy here in North America. But at the getting down to what really matters here, and unfortunately, it really matters in North America. All people talk about is the price of gasoline and the price of oil and things of that nature. How that is, almost doubled in some instances in parts of the United States and Canada. Maybe not quite as much as that, but the point of it, the point being is that it's having a huge effect on inflationary effect on the cost of living for people here. However, there are choices to be made, and I'm musing that the choices that people here in Canada are making with reducing energy consumption because of higher fuel prices because of this war do not have the same type of impact that they have on the people and the different people in places like South Asia, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, where the supply of crude is from the Strait of Hormuz is much more important than it is here. And of course, if we think about South America and Africa, similar type concerns, I'm sure. But not only that with regard to energy, but it's affecting everything else with regard to the transport of agricultural commodities, whether that's from here to Asia or other places. It's affecting the cost of the transport of these agricultural commodities, as well as commodities in general. And that ultimately will probably have a dampening effect on world economic growth. But of course, I'm getting into an area now where somebody like Dr. Hawk knows a lot more about that. Having said that, it's just having a big effect everywhere, certainly here in Canada, certainly here in the United States. But it's interesting to hear from the global south and from the eastern part of the world and what's going on in South Asia and the effects of the what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. So, Enamal, can you take over?
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. This is an area, at least with the war in Middle East. Remember Southeast Asia are the net importer of energy. In other words, while you said that Canada is an exporter, United States, Mexico, Venezuela are exporter. If you come back to Bangladesh, you come back to India, or even if you are talking about Southeast Asia, majority of them probably except Malaysia to some extent and Indonesia to some extent, everybody else are net importer. And these are the huge economy. In other words, these are growing economy. Average growth is between 4 to 6 to 7% in certain economy. And with certain economy, which is also moving upward in the income ladder, which means our energy dependency has gone up. We are more dependent on electricity, on power, on vehicles, on transportation. So these economies are getting hard hit with all these particularly with the rising oil prices. That's number one. Number two, many of the economies, particularly Bangladesh, is a good example. So in Bangladesh, we have, for example, government did not allow the oil price to pass through the market. In other words, government absorbed the dollar price, higher dollar price, purchased oil, but the what you call petrol pump gate prices were still same until today. This morning, government has been forced to increase the price by about less than 20%, close to 20%. That's what they did. But you have just mentioned that the global oil price is almost double, double. And we have actually, government is trying to protect the economy, which is mostly from the higher energy prices. So I think at the moment, the biggest impact in many of these countries are in their foreign exchange reserve. Means when they're buying it, their reserve is going down, their exchange rates are changing, but the petrol pump gate price is more or less constant in Bangladesh. It's almost similar in India, has increased, but not a lot. But our biggest impact is going to come through the grain prices. So remember, you just mentioned that production cost is going to go up this year, which basically means the future grain prices will be higher. Fertilizer prices are already up, and Bangladesh is also an importer. India is also. These are all net importer of fertilizer. So I can see that as an impact. So these economies are racing, try to find out how to insulate the economy from that. It's not going to be easy, but that's going to be a big challenge for many of these countries. In fact, in Bangladesh, if you look at the pump station, petrol pump, it's a huge queue. It's a huge queue for lining up drivers, hours and hours, almost 8 to 10 hours a day, to get their tank full, and that's also in many cases limited. The only good thing that I can see governments around this South Asia has done, they have at least not crippled the transport system. The bus system, these are still, the buses are still running. But imagine the buses, the trucks are not running, the country will explode. So that's what, at least that's what they have done. A government has not been able to maintain that. The vehicle car owner, which are the private car owner, they are hard hit in the sense they have to wait 8 hours to 10 hours in queue. The other thing that Bangladesh, India, also Pakistan to some extent had is electric vehicle. That's something has saved. We had, if you remember, our rickshaws, our majority of them are now with electric, electric engines there, which basically means they have a battery operated, and they charge it overnight at night and bring it the whole day they run. So this is, or even the Uber is still running. Uber bike is still running. We have another similar one called Patao bike. So they are all running, but the bikers are all in queue to get the petrol from the pump. So these are the more or less effects. I would have expected office hours to be reduced during the week, so that number of days, to be reduced, so that it would have saved some costs, or at least petroleum. Government have not done it yet, neither in India, not in Bangladesh. We are trying to get some more oil from other countries. Malaysia has been able to say that we will send some diesel, but it has not come yet, but I think they're in the process of doing it. India has sent some diesel to Bangladesh. So it's a frantic buying and a frantic effort from the governments in many of the South Asian countries who can help others. I think that's where it is. The only safeguard that I see is the electric vehicle and solar power, because a lot of these countries have solar power almost everywhere, solar electricity, and also the electric vehicle. I'm not saying electric vehicle like Tesla. I'm talking about three-wheelers, two-wheelers, like bikes with electric charging. So these are the things happening. Even you have a bicycle now in Dhaka. They sell with the battery charging, so you can charge at night. So probably that's the savior. That's what so yes, life is hard. But my feeling is that with the next harvest coming, your cost of production in Canada will be higher. And your cost of production higher means globally, not only you, means Europe is also. So the cost of wheat, cost of soybean, edible oil will be up. I think many of the problem, impact will be coming into the future unless the war is stopped, or at least or is halted for some time, and and the oil price goes down.
Well, it is interesting because, like, I remember years ago, I was in Bangladesh and you were talking about vehicles were powered by compressed natural gas. A lot of vehicles, right? I
Mhm.
think I remember you saying that. And we
We
would
we
fill,
have a lot of public buses running on CNG, which is
yeah.
natural gas. We
But
have
this
three
was
wheelers
25.
on
Yeah, this
CNG.
was 25 or 30 years ago. You told me that, and
Mhm.
you said, why doesn't Canada do it? And of course, I looked at you and I said, well, the reason Canada doesn't do it, basically, because we don't have to, because we export oil. But what I'm trying to get at is here, even in this tough situation that we have going on now, there's innovation taking place.
Mhm.
There's innovation taking place, whether it's on Bangladeshi streets or Pakistani streets or Indian streets or in Southeast Asia. People are finding different ways to get things done, whether it's having more office hours or whatever it is. That I guess we shouldn't discount the amount of innovation and changing behavior because of higher fuel prices. And this episode of it will last probably a long time, but there'll also probably be some innovation that gets incubated because of that. Whether it's in Bangladesh or whether it's in Africa or whether it's in South America, who knows where it will be. So we'll see. Now, in Bangladesh, do you have any of the Chinese electric vehicles, BYD cars?
BYD has started, has they opened up their sales station here, but not
Right.
yet. Not yet.
Okay.
We have mostly domestic innovation. What I mean, the battery operated, all of these electric vehicles are locally
Yeah.
manufactured. In other words, they are not really imported. Uh, a lot of the solar are imported, but rather than the CNG, all of them are imported. But electric rickshaw, electric three-wheelers, these are all coming from the local innovation. So
Yeah.
that has been happening.
And don't discount local innovation in a place like Bangladesh. I've seen it many times. In this episode of higher energy prices, certainly will stimulate more of that. Now, I brought this to you earlier. I thought we don't know how the war is going to end, but we know that President Trump has a meeting with President Xi coming up next month. I don't think you see that particularly changing things, do you?
No, I don't see the meeting between President Xi and the President Trump. Probably their own bilateral issues. They might talk about global issues, but that will be what you call, I would say, it's basically spoon feeding, nothing more than that. They will not probably deal mostly on this. Each of these countries has their own problem and with their trade. So I think they are going to deal with their own problem. That's how I see it. And China, although a lot of people are looking at China in the sense they're going to save the world, my issue is that China is such a big economy, which is true, but that's a huge population. They cannot destabilize their economy. So they will probably play the game in a way that they will good for their own economy, even though they will be mentally supporting others. Probably they will support others in terms of politically. But to see that China taking on the United States is impossible to me.
Okay. So with regard to the effects of what's happening to us now, these higher energy costs and this disruption in trade, how is it going to affect global economic numbers, like global economic growth in 2026? Just off the top of your head, how do you look at that? And are we going to contract globally, or is it not going to be like that?
I think there will be some contraction. I must say that probably it might. If this war, at least the problem stays for another 1 month, you will see contraction coming, particularly with the production system being, is in trouble. Because it's not just the, oil, but it's the whole distribution channel, the supply chain is in effect. So I think with all of that, there will be some trouble. Imagine the whole Middle East. They are also importer of many items, importer of food, importer of
Yeah.
many other products from around the world. All of them is being disrupted because of this. So it's not an easy game if you think about it. The global economic growth will be hurt, but I think poverty probably will be on the rise. And these are the challenges coming for all of us.
Well, as you know, when we talk about lower economic growth numbers are not good, right? I mean, that means everything gets a little harder, everybody gets a little poorer, and it's hard to tell how that's going to work out. But certainly the effects of this, if it continues for a long time, that's going to happen, and we don't want that. You know what I mean?
With that, I think we can probably say that we hope this war will end very soon. That's our good hope. Nothing more that we can do at this moment.
Well, I hope so, but the effects of it are wide-reaching. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, yeah, it's hurting a little bit, but keep in mind that the world's a big place, and on the other side of the world, whether that's Canada or whether that's Bangladesh, particularly in South Asia and places such as that, it's having an even bigger effect, and we shouldn't discount that. But I agree. I hope the next time we meet in Emil, in the next issue of episode of East West, that we're talking about a past tense and how everybody's getting along and peace breaking out. But it never seems to work out that way. But we will see.
Thank you. We hope so.
Yeah, thank you very much.